Starseeds are the guardians of Terra who hold the knowledge of our ancestors. They are the inner earth beings that come to guide us with their wisdom. They are the enlightened beings from all over the galaxies that come to Terra like comets of light. They are the pioneers, the way-showers, and the architects of a new world, one built upon integrity, unity, and love. These are their stories. Join us as they share their journey of hope, as they break down paradigms and limiting beliefs, as they share their challenges and struggles to fit into the very society they are here to shift. The good, the bad, the everything. This is a journey of a starseed. Okay, well, welcome everybody back to my channel. This is episode 8 of Journey of a Starseed series, so I'm really excited about this communication today with beautiful Anick. I'm going to let her introduce herself and say her last name because I don't want to butcher it. But we're talking about something really exciting today, light language. We're going to get into ancestral healing and, of course, children. So I'm so happy and honored for you to be with me today. Anick, please tell everybody your full name. I'm so sorry, but I don't want to butcher it. And tell us a little bit about your background before we get started.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So my name is Anick Bourbonniere. It's very easy to pronounce.
To you.
So I'm French, as you can hear my accent. And I'm from Quebec City, Canada. And I live mostly until I was 20 years old. I moved in the Rockies towards Banff area. So I don't know if people know that. And so I will start my journey by age. So that way people will understand, even though I'm 51, they would understand, oh, okay, at 8 years old and all that. So something very big happened to me at 5 years old, but I'm not right away going to talk about the 5 years old. I'm going to jump to 8 years old. So at 6 years old. So at 6 years old, what happened is I was going to school, like every child going to school. And every time I was going to school, I had we all had, like every time we arrive at the school, we all sit down in a circle. And there was like story time. So there was my teacher and all the other students around me. And every day at 9 o'clock, I was looking at the clock and something very strange happened to me. And my body was in the classroom, but my soul, everything come out. So I was not even in the classroom anymore. And I was but I was able to see my teacher and my classmate in the class, okay? So I was coming out of my body. It's like an out-of-body experience, but I don't know how is that out-of-body experience. It was like a natural thing for me. Maybe because I was not comfortable at the school. Maybe it was not my place, but I was coming out of my body, and every day I was going to a classroom, but up in the sky, like it. And later I realized that I was in a spaceship, because in the spaceship we were all sitting in a circle again, and there was like a big sun in the middle, and that sun gave us energy, and each of us. And by the way, I was mostly the only human. Maybe there was 3 human with me, and the rest was all children, but not coming from the earth. Maybe they're coming from the earth, but they had different color, they had different shape, and they were like mostly hybrid children. So, but for me, it was natural because I was going there so many times that those were my classmates. So in that place, it was very strange because every time I arrived there, I was seeing teacher around me, but they were not human teacher. One teacher was a blue bean and the other teacher was a mantis. Only two. And they were always walking around the circle. So we were sitting in a circle and in the middle of the sun, and they were walking around the circle, and everybody knew what to do. So my role was to go in earth and to analyze the emotion of the adult. So not just the adult, but the children and the teenager and all that. So I had to go and learn the emotion, because each emotion equal a sound and a feeling and a color. So every time I was looking at someone, and if there was an interaction between a child and a parent, I was seeing the feeling that was coming from back and forth from the parents and the child. And every time I see that, I had to absorb that. And when the day I go to the school and I teach. I was telling my teacher and my classmate how the emotion was happening. So example, if I see an emotion of sadness, I was seeing some purple, but purple bluish. And I was able to see the sickness that was coming from there. So I was explaining to my being of like, okay, this is, and I was just showing from my heart, what is it that I was seeing, and they understand everything. I didn't even need to talk. The language was not used over there. It's only telepathically and from your heart. So I was transmitting what I see, and they were grabbing all the energy and put it in some kind of a bubble. And that bubble, they just do this and the bubble left. So every day, it's like I was a spy for emotion. Yeah. So every day I had to do something like this. Okay, so this was my first experience. There is other things that happened during when I went to the spaceship, but I'm not going to go too much in detail because it's like already this is probably too much. So
no, not at all.
Day after day, listen, I was going to school and my parents was asking me, so what did you learn in school? And I'm like, I learned a lot of things, but I didn't know how to explain to my mom that I was not in school, because at 3 o'clock, I come back to my body and I was like a human. And I was like, okay, what's going on? So I was looking at my friend putting their books in their bags, and I was, okay. And I was always like it's confusing for a child who's 6 years old. So I just continue to live my life like this. This continued for about a good 2 years. So imagine it was like really hard because I had to concentrate in school, and every time a teacher was asking me something, it's like I was everything happened for a reason, because my guides or whatever was helping me up there was telling my teacher, okay, don't ask questions while she's talking.
Oh, wow.
So they were coordinating things together. So every time they were asking me questions, boom, I was able to come back to my body and I knew the answer. So I was able to tell you. So this was like a good thing for me. So, okay, so now at 8 years old, what happened is I don't remember anything about like this. Kind of flew out of my head. Okay, so at 8 years old, my grandfather died, and when he died, my mom come to me and she said, Anick, your grandfather died. He's my favorite grandfather. And he said, your grandfather died, we have to take care of your grandfather now, so you have the choice. Do you want to come with us, or or you can go to school. And I just moved from this new place and I had all kind of friends there. So I said, you know what? I said, what am I going to do there? I was 8 years old. So for me, I was like, okay, it's so sad. It's so sad. But, you know, it's probably better I go to school. And if I'm not feeling good, Mom, can you come and pick me up? And she's like, okay, no problem. So because we were talking about that, I missed the bus. So my mom drove me to school. While she drove me to school, I opened the door and my grandfather was holding the door for me. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I said, Mom. And my grandfather said, shh. So I walked to school with my grandfather. He gave me his hand and we walked to school. So, and I was looking at him and I said, but Grandpapa, you're not dead. And he said, maybe as a human, but I am still very present. And for now on, I will be with you for a really long time. So then I spent a lot of time. He brought me to school. He was standing outside of my classroom waiting for me. But me, at that time, I was like, okay, so my grandfather is dead, but he's with me. It was very hard for me to understand. And I was starting to see a lot of other people following my classmate. So I thought my friends were able to see their family member and all that. And me, I had to always listen to my grandfather. So if my grandfather said, no, don't do this, I was listening to him, but I was looking at all my friends and they were like not listening to their guide or things like this. So one day
hold on, Annie. Hold on, I just want to clarify. So you could see the other people's guides and family members there, that you could tell that they didn't see them.
No,
is that right?
They didn't.
Okay,
well,
I
thought that they see them, but they didn't want to listen to them. So I was like,
okay.
How come I have to listen to my grandfather, but you guys don't listen to your guide? So a couple of times I didn't listen to my grandfather, and oh my God, no, it was not good. So, but it was after that he explained me. He said, Anick, he said, listen to me. He said, you have the gift and probably other kids have the gift, but for now you concentrate on you. So he's the one who taught me how to telepathically communicate with the people who will pass away. So I had to only talk to him telepathically, because if I talk to him like you and I, people would have hear us and they'd be like, okay, what's going on? So what happened is during the year I was in school, we had a church beside our school, you know, the famous, we had a church beside the school and we had a cemetery beside the school. Okay. So now the dead people in the cemetery, I don't know if I pronounce it well, they start seeing that I was seeing my grandfather and I was talking to them. So they start coming to me. So they were probably 300 years in that cemetery and they were coming to me. So I was walking to go to school and they were coming to me, Anick. And I'm like, what? And now my grandfather was able to come and say, okay, calm down. She's still young. She's not ready to go to that. So, but very quick, they came to me and they were saying, oh, can you go see my great grandchild? And I'm like, what? You know, I couldn't help everybody.
That's a lot for a kid, huh?
I know. And I was like 8, 9 years old. So I had to absorb this, but I had a good teacher, my grandfather. But the thing is, he was not alive. So I couldn't talk with alive people because I had no help. Like no one was able to help me. At least my grandfather was there to open the door for me and said, okay, now this person will come to you, this person will. So my grandfather sometimes will bring people, old people to me because they wanted me to give a message to their kids, but their kids are probably 100 years old, you know, so they had no lapse of time. So sometimes it was very hard for me to deal with this. So this lasted until I was 15 years old. So I was kind of the messenger until I was 15 years old. And I remember talking to my mom about it. And I said, Mom, I said, Grandpapa is with me and he's talking to me. And I remember my mom was saying, okay, yeah, your grandfather is there. Okay, as long as he help you, because, you know, there was a misunderstanding between my grandfather and my mom. So I said, she said, as long as he help you, that's the most important. But she didn't include that he was beside me. He was really beside me. Anyway, so this continued until 15 years old. And at 15 years old, I'm like, okay, Papa, no, you gotta get up, no? Because I'm watching boys and things like this. And I had friends. I wanted to be normal, you know? So, and I moved school because at 15 years old, I had to go to a new school. And so I was like in high school and, you know, cool and all that. And it was really hard because he was telling me, no, don't go at this place. And, you know, it's like, you go because I want to live my life. So what happened is he decided to leave for a while. And it made me very happy because I could breathe. I could be like a normal child because I didn't know what it is to be like a normal child. I've never been alone. So at 15, until 15 to 33, I was able to do so much stuff. And I went to school. I traveled the world. I taught French and English. I taught French mostly, but a little bit English overseas. And I traveled the world and all that. But I forgot to say that at 16 years old, this was a very, very strong time because my grandfather was on the side a little bit. And what happened is I became really, really sick. I had like the mononucleosis. So I became really, really sick. So for 1 year, I was in bed. And in that time, I was like trying to get back to myself. I couldn't even hold a spoon. I was so tired. And often what I did is I go outside, sit on the grass. And during that time, something really very strange happened to me because almost every day during the summer, I was laying down outside on the grass to get the energy because my guides and all that were telling me, Anick, you have to go on the grass. You have to go lay down on the grass to get energy. So, and at that time, I remember seeing a form in the sky. And I was like, this is very strange. And I said, oh, maybe because I'm too sick. And I go back to bed, come back. I did that for about 1 month. And after 1 month, I look up and okay. So I don't know if I was able to see, I don't know if other people was able to see what I was seeing, but it was magical. But I was able to come out of my body, and I was remembering what happened to me at 6 years old, coming out of my body and being able to, how do you say, import myself or export myself? Like,
yeah. Wow.
Go out of my body. And I was able to go see on top. It's like I was like a ball of energy flying. And I was able to see on top of that. I don't know if it was a city, but I know it was huge. And we live in the front of a water. Okay. It was the St. Lawrence River. And that, it was connected. There was like an electric okay, during in the front of that big bubble of it's like a city of cloud, there was an electric kind of cord touching the water. So it's like the water was giving energy to that big kind of I will call it the city, okay? This big bubble of cloud. So I was able to teleport myself in that cloud, but not in, but on top, to see what happened, what's there. But this is after like months and months, so it didn't happen like this. So, and one day I was able to go and I saw it was only children. And I'm like, that is so nice. I wish that I could live here. I wish it could be my school. And I was seeing a different department, but only children's playing. And the children were about from the birth until about 15, 18 years old, like only until 18 years old. I don't know exactly the age, but I was seeing a teenager, older teenager. And then the only thing also happened is I was seeing older people, 100 and above. So maybe some were 70 or 80, but I didn't see, like I couldn't see the age. I just saw that only children and really old people. And this shocked me. I was so amazed with that feeling, and the children was able to communicate with trees, with animal. There was a lot of animal, and everything was connected. So I was able to see a connection between the child, the water, the animal, the ancestor, and it was just fantastic. Okay, so I left this, and after a year I become better and all that, and I always knew that if I needed to go back, I can just sit down and go back. Okay, but as soon as I got better, I couldn't see them anymore. So I decided while I was in school and all that, I decided to go and travel. And every time I was traveling to specific place, I was able to see again another city, another bubble in top of, it was always on top of water or in a very flat land. And I was able to see that city, that floating. I'm not sure if it's a city, but for me, I call it kind of the city. And so I'm about to, because I traveled and I went to school and all that. So at 33 years old, okay, now we're going to jump a little bit, because between 15 and 30, that's the only thing I did. I traveled, I went to school, I taught and all that. But at the same time, I still had my mission of helping others, giving them advice and the ancestor was coming to me a lot. Like I couldn't stay away from ancestor. They were coming to me a lot. So why not helping other people with that gift? And meantime, I was working a lot with children. So with children, when I was in school, especially when I was in Taiwan, I was working in Taiwan for a year and a half. And I was able, something happened to me over there where I was able to see the child and see the whole family behind. And I was able to see all the pain that the whole family had and the child had to take. So it was really hard for me because I was able to understand the pain that the child had, but how to take it off. It was very hard. Like I had to go to connect with the parents, for the parents to understand that they are the problem, why their kids are like this. So this happened to me, like this ability happened to me when I was in Taiwan. Then after that, around 33 years old, I met my husband. So finally, I calmed down a little bit. And of course, I didn't tell my husband I had those abilities because he would have been like,
all right.
Only because he was working with stock market. So only when he was doing something, I used to say, oh, you should invest in this, or you should invest in this. And after that, after a while, I used to tell him, okay, be careful with that person. Because as soon as I shake the hand of a person, I feel the whole body. I would know a lot of things. So I would say to my husband, okay, be careful with that person, be careful with that person. Or this person is very good, or things like this. Then we got married, and after that, in 2008, I became pregnant. And when I became pregnant, it was very strange things. Another very strange things happened to me. Every time I was sleeping, I was seeing light coming to me, big light coming to me. And as soon as I wake up, I was able to see them, but I hear something very, very loud on top of my house. And then 3 minutes later, everything disappeared and black helicopter was coming on top of my house. And now I was like waking, like my husband could hear that. So my husband go outside and check what's going on, and black helicopter was there. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? You know? So this lasts for at least 6 months. And then I gave birth to my twins. I had twins, a boy and a girl. And every day I woke up with the noise. And I'm like panicking. I go to the room because first it was time for me to feed them, but I was waking up with the noise of, it's like a woo, like a very strange noise on top of my house. And every time I go see my kids, and they were like wide awake with big eyes, and they were like talking, like they were like 2 months, and they were like already making noise, sound with their voice, their mouth. So I was going to see them, and as soon as I arrive in the room, the noise just go away, and I hear the black helicopter coming back. So I was getting worried because I was thinking, okay, if the black helicopter always come here, something's gonna happen. Like I was getting really worried. So finally, year after year, they came less and less, and the black helicopter barely came. Okay, so it's like they knew when to come, and they knew the vibration when it was time to leave. And they came, but we couldn't see them. They came transparent, but I was able to hear them. I was able to hear, and who it was, I don't know. I have no idea what it was, but I could feel a presence here. So my kids grew up and all that. And at 2 years old, my kids were often like, my kids were always together, and they had their own language. Okay, so I couldn't understand their language. They were talking with each other, their own language. And they could feel everything, every feeling I had, they could feel, and every feeling that my husband had, they could feel. So at 2 years old, 3 years old, my daughter was in a window, and I go beside my daughter, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Shh, Mom, shh, don't talk." So I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" She said, "I'm talking to the light." And I'm like, "What light?" And she said, "The light on the street." And I said, "But Sophia, there's no light in the street." She said, "Oh, no, I'm talking to the light. They are talking to each other, and they're like fighting about something, and I have to say something. So please don't come in between." And I'm like, okay. So I had to relax and said, okay, I have to let her go, because I know that when I had ability, and when things was happening, I understand, because it happened to me, things like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So my daughter was saying, I'm talking to the light, and they're sending electricity to me, and I have to grab the electricity in order to send it to people who are sick, and the animal who are sick. So I have to absorb everything. So if you talk to me, Mama, I cannot concentrate. I'm like, you know that word, concentrate, you know?
Yeah.
And at that time, she only speak French, because I only speak French with her. So she was telling me words that I could not understand. So, and then my son, almost the same, except he was in his room, and he was talking with a darker man, and he was laying down, and he said, the dark man, he's there. And I said, "But is he bad? Is it dark?" No, Mama, not because it's dark that it's bad. And I'm like, okay. He said, "No, his skin is dark, and he has a dark robe, but he's not bad. He's really nice. He's teaching me mathematics." And I'm like, how do you know that word mathematic? He said, Mom, mathematic is with number and you can add things and all that. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So he was saying that that man was teaching my son how to all the mathematic, but not only each number has a sound and each number has a color and a vibration. So my son was drawing and teaching me that number one has a specific sound, a vibration, and a tone or a tune also. And when he was like he was telling me also that he was able to see other things like round, like color from his room. He said, Mama, there is like holes sometime and you can see behind the holes. And in that holes, it doesn't mean it's bad. You just have to be in a positive state. And I'm like, okay, he's 3 years old. He's telling me you have to be in a positive state to go into that hole and you will get more information. So I had to deal with children like this. Okay, so I could not go to work and I would never go to work. I had to go in to stay with my kids. And plus, my husband is Spanish, so I speak French, English, and Spanish with the kids. So they were learning language with me. And on top of that, I didn't want to send them too much in school right away because I wanted their soul to be pure. Okay. Mm-hmm. So at 5 years old, my husband said, okay, maybe we can send them to school and we'll see how it works. So I sent them to school and maybe 2 months later, my daughter come to me and she said, Mama, my guides. And I'm like, okay, your guides. Okay, you have guides. My friends and my guides told me that I cannot continue the school because my guide cannot come back to school because they don't feel good. They feel trapped and they feel like I will lose my ability of communicating with the other side and all that. So I'm like, okay. So that night I sat down with my husband and I said, okay, we need to do something. We need to do something. And my husband is like, okay, you know what? I'm really tired. I need a break from my work. So let's take a year sabbatical. And I'm like, whoa. So we took a year sabbatical. I was lucky, we were lucky. We took a year sabbatical because where he was working, if he doesn't take break, he will go crazy. Okay, because it's like in stock market and all that. It's a lot of pressure. So we decided to pack the house and we left with 2 luggage each and we decided to travel the world. Okay, but by traveling the world, I say we needed to go somewhere where us also we can take time off and not always have the kids. So we decided to go to Ecuador. Okay, because my husband is from Ecuador. So we decided to go to Ecuador and just spend time in Ecuador. And as soon as we arrived in Ecuador, my kids became sick. Okay, but it's only because they got sick by a cough and things like this. They had fever and all the famous sickness that, you know, when you get sick, you have fever and all that. Yeah. You stop me if you need to stop me, huh?
No, keep going.
Because when I talk. So my kids were sick, and then maybe 2 days after, it was me. And I became really sick. So I had so much fever, and my husband said, okay, well, we were living in a nice little villa. And so my husband was able to stay with the kids, and I was able to stay alone in the room, sick, you know. And that night, I go fast because I don't want to go too much in detail. But that night, I remember it was a really nice day outside, a lot of stars, million of stars. And you know, in Ecuador it's in the middle of the world. You know, it's pure. The air, it's fantastic. Okay, and you cannot get closer to to the sun and to everything. So I'm relaxing in the room, actually not relaxing. I was really sick. And next thing you know, it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning. My kids were sleeping. My husband was in the other room because he didn't want to sleep beside me because he didn't want to be sick. I didn't want him to be sick because he had to take care of the kids also. And next thing you know, my eyes were closed and I kind of seen a big bright light in the front of my eyes, but my eyes were closed. So I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? So I opened my eyes and there was 3 big blue bean with like huge eyes in the front of me. And I'm ready to be screaming or something like this. But as soon as I'm ready to, I got an energy of love like I never felt before. It was an energy that I think the only time I felt that love is when I was 6 years old on top of the spaceship in the classroom. And then after that, I felt like, oh my God, I know those people. So it felt like it was my family. They were 3 being, 1 in the front of me and 2 in the back. And I was able to see their vibration. 1 was a male in the front of me and 2 female. But I couldn't see if it's a male or female. It was like a vibration of male and female. And I could feel an unconditional love. It was like, it was incredible. It's hard for me to describe. It was magical. So, and then I come back, I went back to my head and I'm like, oh, okay, but what are you doing there? But they were talking and telepathically. And me, I was not able to talk. I was not even able to talk with my mouth. The only thing I was able to do is telepathically think, what the happened? What's going on? You know? And they're like, okay, Anick, calm down, calm down. You know us. We know each other for eternity. And I'm like, wow. And then I start calming and I start remembering things and I start crying and I didn't know I had all the emotion in the world. And they came to me and they said, okay, we have a message for you. And I'm like, okay, this is not happening. This is not true. It's only in movies. It doesn't happen here. And they said, yes, we are here and you're going to see us often. Your children has prepared you. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So they said, we are sorry for making you sick. You need to purify yourself. Your body is full of toxin. And it's not because you don't eat well. Like they didn't talk like this, but you know, they had their own language. I have to explain it to you how they explain. They said it's not because you don't eat well. It's because you're not light enough for us. So I said, okay, yes, I know I'm a little bit overweight. They said, no, it's not about overweight.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that. I was like, okay, yes, I know I need to lose weight. But they said, no, you don't understand. They said, no, it's not about weight. It's about what you have inside. They said, we need to take off the toxic inside of you and all the baggage that you have from your ancestor and your parents and all that. And we need to make sure that you're pure for us because we need to use you. And I'm like, use me? And they said, we need to use you for the new generation of children. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand. So they said, because something will happen very soon. And I'm like, okay, how soon? Because time, it's very hard to control the time with them. And they said, you will know exactly when. When it's time, you will know. And they said, we need to use you as a representative between us and the children. So you will be in between. You have to slowly give your energy to children and transmit something to children in order for children to go to that new world, or that the way they explained it to me, it was like feeric, it was like overwhelming, but the only thing I can explain it to you, it's in my words. Okay, so because the children are all moving to a new world, the parents are moving somewhere else. We're not moving with the children. Some people will move with the children, but most of the children will move to a new world where it will be a new world. And the people who are ready to follow the children will follow. But it's not everybody. And they explained me also that there will be a liquid injected inside of you, and then you will see the difference. Then you will see how can I explain the direction that people will take. Okay. So, okay. And at that time, this was in 2014. So I didn't understand like that liquid. I didn't understand nothing, you know. And they were telling me that I have to be ready. I have to be prepared. And until then, from now until then, they will come and activate me and give me some information and give me and make sure that my gift develop to help as much as people as possible. Okay, but not everybody. Even though you help everybody, not everybody will be able to ascend to this new world or something like that. So okay, now I'm like, okay, what's going on now? Am I crazy? I'm in my bed, I'm sweating because I have fever, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? So now they decide to they disappear slowly, and they said, we will be back, and they disappear slowly. And I come back to myself, and I'm like, okay, this is not true. This is a nightmare. This is a dream. This is what, you know? So I go see my husband, and my husband is like, okay. He said, okay. I'm not surprised. He said, his mom, she's Greek. And she said, my mom used to tell me when I was young that she lived on a planet, Gamaleya, something like this. And she used to tell me about the planet all the time. And she used to tell me that when she will die, she will go to this planet. And so he said, nothing impressed me and nothing made me scared. He said, we're in Ecuador. Things happen here. And I'm like, okay, but you didn't tell me that those things could happen. And he's like, no. He said, I understand. I never thought this would happen, but I understand. I'm not afraid. So at least I had him to be able to. And then, okay, so we spent time in Ecuador, and then my guides came to me. We spent about 2 months in Ecuador, and then my guides came to me. My grandfather didn't want to be too close because I told him now.
Yeah, he's listening.
Other people come to me now. So one person came to me and he said, Anick, you have to leave Ecuador. And I'm like, why? You have to leave right now. And I'm like, okay. So I went to see my husband and I said, okay, I don't want to disappoint you, but we have to leave. He said, it's funny you say that to me because yesterday I was thinking it's time for us to move on because we decided to take a year sabbatical. Let's move on. Because before we came back to Ecuador, we went to see countries, but we didn't stay. We only visit and come back. So he said, guess what? I'm going to book the plane ticket and we're leaving tonight. I'm like, what? So we were able to leave tonight. Everything happened that we were able to leave tonight. So I said, okay, where in the world can we go? And my husband said, you know what? He said, let's go in Quebec City. So that way, in Canada, so that way your parents can watch the kids a little bit because you and we need a break. And I'm like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. So we decide to go. to Quebec City, and we left the kids with my parents for a week, and we decided to travel and come back. And my parents said, Anick, I put your kids in school. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, I couldn't stay looking at your kids and not putting your kids to school. They need to be in school. You know, parents, how they are, they need to be, they need to socialize. So I'm like, okay. I said, no problem. It was my school when I was young. So everybody knew me in this place. So they were able to put the kids, even though it was November, they were able to put the kids in school. So meanwhile, me and my husband, we went to a small trip. Like we go to Paris, we go to England, we come back and we go a little bit. So I needed this. And every time I was going to a country, I was getting download. And I wake up and I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? And when I know that I have download is when I wake up in the morning and I'm not there. Like I feel like I have a feet in one world and the other feet in another world is when you know that you got download. And often I was waking up and I had a pain. It's like I could have a pain somewhere. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And I press and there was a chip. So how you feel if you have a chip is if you one day you wake up and you have a pain and you touch and it's like you got like a vaccine, or it's like you got something, you know that you're followed, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. So that's why some of my clients said to me, Anick, I think I have a chip now at some place. And I'm thinking, okay, but please don't get it out, because often when you get a chip or something like this, it's because you are protected with your family, because we're all come from the star. You know, when people say, are you a star seed? Everybody is a star seed because you come from the star. Everybody's come from the star. Anyway, so often you have a specific family where your galactic family wants to keep an eye on you, and this is what they do. They put a chip on you just to make sure that you're protected. Okay, probably this is too much, but I had to go into this. So after that, I go back to my house. My kids are in school and I can meditate on my own. And every time for about 4 months, every time I sit, I meditate, everything come out. I do out of body experience, and I go, and what I do when I do an out of body experience, I don't want to do this, but it's a natural. I just close my eyes for maybe 3-4 minutes and boom, I can see myself coming out of the roof, coming out of my house, coming out of the city, coming out of the earth. And then this is what's going on with me is as soon as I'm out on the earth, I circle around the earth. Okay, so it's like I fly around the earth. And then when I fly, after that, I'm I feel like I stop and I feel kind of stuck. How do you say when you're a pole? I feel pull from a country, and any country, they let's say one country that something is going on, they will pull me inside their country. I will arrive in the city. I will arrive in the village. I will arrive in the house, and then I will arrive in the bedroom of a child. And then I see a child maybe very sick, and I just put my hands on the child very sick, and I close my eyes, and there's an energy that come out of me. And then I can see the brightness, and I can see the heart getting stronger and stronger. And then I see all the parents and the people around them like, so happy. I know it sounds weird, but this happened to me. It's like it's my mission to go in the country and the world. I travel the world and I go and help some children, and everywhere I'm pulled. So I can travel and I'm pulled somewhere and I don't know where it is. It doesn't matter where am I, as long as I go and help a child. And all that is, I know people who could say, oh, Anick, it's your imagination, but I understand maybe it could be imagination, but it's in my world while I meditate. Okay. And most of the time after that, I come out and I go on a spaceship. I go meet my three beings and I go on a spaceship. And other things happen in the spaceship. And in the spaceship, I work in the medical area. Okay, so in the medical, because the spaceship is like an hotel, a huge, huge hotel. I don't know if people have been to big cruise. Sometimes big cruise, it's like a city. So the spaceship is like a city. And I often go to the spaceship, and my role in the spaceship is in the medical area. And why the medical? I have no idea. They just put me there. And every time I arrive in the medical area, I arrive in a big room. And in the big room, they bring me, and this is the mantis and the blue bean. They come to me and they bring me, it could be like a bean. And most of the time the bean is black or is not the color they should be. It could be gray or another color. And I just put my hands on it and my hands towards the heart, and my hands are moving. They're making like a specific gesture, and then everything changed. The color changed and everything. And every time I work on the bean, yeah.
No, I said, wow.
Okay, so every time I work on the bean, I have blue beans and mantis around me all over. And because sometimes I cry, I don't know what to do. They bring me all those people, they have no life inside of them. And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And they're like, you know what to do. And I go in the front of the being that is in the front of me, and I just put my hands and I close my eyes, and I'm able to transmit an energy there. Okay, so now I finish my meditation, I go back to myself, and I'm like, okay, now what? You know, I'm able to do this in other dimension, but what's the point of giving me this gift if I cannot do anything?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, so many times I cry. I was like, what's the point? Like, I don't want that gift. I hate that. Many times I was like, and I try to never say that in front of my kids, because my kids are so, you cannot say anything negative about the outside, because they will be like, Mom, why you say those things, you know? So I was telling my husband, like, what's the point of having a gift that you can go and heal people or help people when in this earth nothing is going on? So that year, it was a very, very hard year, because while I was in the last year of the sabbatical, because I got so many downloads, I got so many information, and I was able to astral travel everywhere. But every time I come back to reality, I was like, oh, this is not good. I just want to stay there. I don't want to be here. I want to stay there. It's
yeah.
Why are you giving me this? You know, it's not a good feeling. So after that, they explained me, they said, Anick, you need a balance in your life. So if you do too much meditation, what happens is you don't have time to have fun with your kids. So your kids has an ability incredible, and you don't have a balance in your life, and that will make you unbalanced, and it will make you sick. Mm-hmm. So it took me a while to understand. After that, I said, okay, I don't want nothing to do with this. I didn't do any meditation for at least 6 months. I'm like, I don't care. So we decide to take a trip, and we go to Hawaii, okay? Because it's our last trip of the year. So we decide to go to Hawaii and relax and all that. And okay, so that night, I fall asleep, and all that night, I was dreaming, and I woke up in the morning, and my hands were moving this. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Am I like getting sick or something like this? And my hand continued to move and I had shake, but it was only the right hand. And I said to my husband, something is not right. I said, okay, I think maybe I should do a meditation. So my husband said, oh, well, a meditation. Okay, go ahead, do a meditation. And I did a meditation. And while I did a meditation, my hands stopped moving, but sound was coming in my head and my mouth. And it was continue. It was like language after language after language. And I was, what's going on? What's going on? And every time I wanted to say something, I had no language of French, English, and Spanish. It was another language. And I was like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? So I went to see my husband and my kids were there. And I said, okay, now I speak in English. But while I was doing a meditation, I could not speak English, French, and Spanish. I can only speak another language. And this is scaring me. My daughter, she's like 6 years old. She turned and she's like, Mama, now it's time for you to realize that you are speaking with the star. And I'm like, what? She said, yes, and your hand. And I said, my hand? How do you know I had something on my hand? She said, your hands has an energy on it, and you have to transmit. It's your duty. That's your mission. You need to transmit an energy with your hand. And she said, it's, you see, also you get an information from the star. The star has a light. And she said, that's why I was talking with the light, because they were preparing you for you to be able to open up your mission, your gift. So the light is coming inside of you. You have a light inside of you. It goes into your arm, and your arm are able to transmit an energy. And she said, try it on me. So she went into my bedroom, she lay down, and I put my hand. As soon as I put my hand, boom, I was gone. I was gone somewhere, I don't know where, but I felt like I went back to the ship. But I couldn't understand where I was, because my ego was like, okay, what's going on? Am I doing the right thing? Is it okay? So my hand was there, and my daughter was like, I can feel it. I can feel it, Mom. Okay, concentrate. She was telling me what to say. And then after that, the sound start talking, like the language start talking. And then I work on her for about 10 minutes. And after that, I could see like it was the transmission done. I could feel, boom, done. And I opened my eyes. My daughter looked at me and she said, oh, it was so good, Mom. I felt so good. Oh. So it was like magical. So it's that day that I realized that something very, very strong happened to me. And I don't know if you call it, like everybody call it, the light language, but it's an energy, it's a sound, it's a vibration that come inside my body, and it come out from my finger. And often I have electricity that come out of my finger. Specific people, I have electricity, and as soon as I touch them in specific place, it's an electric. It's kind of an electric shock. So this is what happened with the light language. And later, I realized that the light language was transmitted by my great-grandmother, because often when we have a gift, the gift is from a great-grandparents. You can have a gift from your grandparents, but most of the time it's the great-grandparents. And you know, I'm 51, so my great-grandmother was very old. So in that time, it was taboo. You know, if you have a gift, it's taboo, and do not talk about your gift and don't say anything. And my grandmother, when she came to me to tell me that all her life, everybody knew her as only one arm. woman. Okay. So, and she said, Anick, it's because nobody knows the truth. I didn't, because they were saying that she had polio. So they had to amputate her arm. And she said, it was not the polio. She said, because when I was 5 years old, I had the gift of being able to heal. And my parents were scared and they went to see the priest. And the priest and the doctor said, I have the devil inside. So because they were so scared that it goes to the village, because the village is a big thing, and the religion was a big thing. So they decided to amputate my arm when I was 5 years old. But it was the biggest taboo that we had in our family, and it passed on to, and no one knew the real truth. So this was a big trauma that my grandmother had. So my grandmother, she was not able to tell anybody that trauma. So imagine when her daughter is born and her daughter's daughter, and or the son, it goes to generation. So coming to me and coming to my kids, when I find out about these big taboo things, when I find out and I let it go and I release, this is when a big thing came out of me, but not only me, my parents and my grandparents. So that's why this is a big thing also for when you have something in your family history that is taboo, and often you're not allowed to talk about that, and it doesn't come out. It goes to your kids. And this is what's going on now. I'm dealing with a lot of parents who call me and said, I cannot control my kids. I don't know what they are. They're not good kids. But the sad part is I have to tell the parents, that's not your kids the problem. That's you the problem. Yes. And often is some parents are not happy, but I don't care. See, I work for children, and if the parent doesn't like that, it's too bad. It's because you don't want to heal your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Anick, I think we'll probably stop for today so we could keep it around the hour mark, and then we'll have a part 2. I think this is a great place to kind of pause, and then we'll do the other half later, because this is going to be a couple of hours of conversation. And so I'm
sorry I went so long.
No, I think it's helpful because everybody needed to, everything you said was important, and I could listen to you talk for hours. You're very animated, and we can follow along really easily, and it's a wonderful story. So we'll pause for today, and then we're going to do it too, and then Anick's going to take it from there and tell us what she does now: ancestral healing, light language, working with children and the parents and the families, and we're going to get into that in part 2. So please stay tuned for that. So thank you, Anick, for this part 1 interview. I think that you certainly captivated me, and I believe you've captivated everybody watching, that they are going to be like biting their nails until the next one, because they want to hear what you have to say next. So thank you so much for joining me today, Anick. And is there anything last minute you want to say real quick before we go?
Yes, just be authentic to yourself. And the more authentic that you are to yourself, your children will benefit from it. And you will see that your children will heal very quick, and they will be able to teach you things that you don't know yet, what's going on and what's coming in the near future. So just be yourself, be authentic, and don't try to be somebody else. Just be yourself, because you have a lot of gift to offer.
Oh, that's absolutely. I mean, just put that up in a little bow and pass it out to everybody, because that's exactly where we are right now, finding our true authentic self and then just living that. And our children are here to help us with that, whether they're yours or not. So not people out there that don't have children, like, they're here to help you as well. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. So thank you, everybody, for watching today, and stay tuned. We'll do the next one very soon. Until next time, I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.